All right. All right, I am trying to go live. I'll need people to let me know when I'm live. Looks like I should be live. YouTube says live. All right. Hey, I see someone's here. Can you hear me? The important thing is, can you hear me? I mean, maybe it's not important that you hear me, but I kind of like talking, so I want you to hear me. All right. Awesome. Great. Well, obviously we're going to wait for some people to roll in here. Welcome to the first YouTube office hours. Sounds on. Good. Got people coming in. Nice. Just a reminder for anyone, and I guess maybe one of my mods can post this from time to time. You do need to be a member for at least 5 minutes, or subscriber to the channel for at least 5 minutes to comment. That's just a little bit of flow control there. Everyone who's commenting obviously already is. And I expect to go probably an hour and a half tonight here. And then, depending on the crowd and what people want to do, we may bring it back to the Discord server for a little bit more after hours, just chill time. Please ask dumb questions. Please do. I see Adam's here. Adam, can you confirm that you have almighty mod powers? You should, but I haven't done this before, so in a long, long time. You should be all set. Oh, Nearby Prince, you have too much filament, Danny. Too much filament. My camera keeps tracking me, which is a little awkward. Hold on, let me move it a little bit more centered. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Should have done this ahead of time. Okay. There we go. All right. You have too much filament, Danny. Too much filament for your rep racks. All right. Already got some people on here. That's awesome. No, you should not kick Danny. No, we don't need to do that again. But he should be careful. Dumb questions aren't dumb. Dumb questions are what we're here for. For anyone who's gone to college, normally professors have office hours, and office hours are where you go ask them dumb questions that you didn't want to bog up the class with. That is awkward. You should be. There. You should be now, Adam. I think Danny is. He's got a little icon next to him. Yep. Yeah, he is. Okay. If things get too bad, you can kick Danny, but let's try not to. It's kind of a joke. He got kicked early on in the Discord. Accidentally. It was a joke, and he meant to just kick him from the voice chat, and he got kicked from the entire server. So, okay, I think we're going to give it a couple more minutes to get people in. We still have people coming in. And then we'll get started. I have several challenge images that people have given me. Both challenges, like, how would you do this? But also, I can't do this. Please help me do this. Images. But before I go to challenge images, I want to walk people through kind of what the current state of HueForge is. And this is being recorded, including the chat. So, be careful about what you say. It'll be recorded for posterity. And the chat is being recorded so that I can, people can watch this later if they can't make this live stream as it's live. I know several people who have said that they're planning on coming, so we'll see. Let's see here. Just so you know, you can super chat or sticker me if you want. It is active. I didn't turn it off, but I don't expect anyone to. But you're welcome to if you want to. I'll put it towards food at a Rep Rap Festival or something for the people who help me at the booth. But they are live. If you want a super chat, if you want a sticker, you can. But I am not encouraging it nor requesting it. Okay. So I think we'll give it a little bit more. I think we got one more minute and then we'll get started. Things seem to be good on my end in terms of connection and everything. So, all right. Okay. Yep. Oh, hello, Sean. I think I saw you on Facebook. Said you were going to come join us. Thank you for coming. And hello to Florida. East Coast, but southern part of the East Coast. Okay. Well, I'm going to get us started. I don't actually know. It looks like we have about 35 people here, which is a good crowd. I don't know how many to expect. We'll see. But we are going to get going. So the first thing I'm going to do is you're going to stop seeing my lovely face. All right, I've been told we lost audio when I switched scenes. I think I know why. So hold on. I will fix this real quickly. We should have audio back. Do you guys, can you hear me now with the screen going? This is, I think this should be fixed. I know there's a little delay here. Wow, that is clipping loud. Here. We'll bring this down a little bit. Okay, there we go. You should have audio back. Audio is back. All right. Okay, yeah, so forgot that all scenes need their own mics. So, okay. Audio's back. Sorry about that. All right, let me go back. Start recapping again. Thank you, Danny, for the notification. I did see it before you even tagged me. That was helpful. Okay, sorry about that. Let some more people come along. All right, let me go back over everything I just said, which you don't know about. So this is the new layout for HueForge, the new default layout for HueForge. I will say the default layout may have has the toolbars in slightly different locations, but I have done away with most of the dock widgets. Dock widgets were kind of half-baked. They weren't my own. They were the one that came with the toolkit, but the toolkit dock widgets were not very good. They were easy to crash and break and make unrecoverable without deleting your registry, and it wasn't something I could fix. It was something that had to be fixed on the actual widget toolkit, that I didn't really have control over that. So I went to toolbars. Almost everything's a toolbar. You'll see that filament and a little bit of model geometry is still in a dock, but because there's just two of them and they stack nicely, they don't take that much room. I have also, and the reason I did this is because all the functions that you need are pretty much in the cores now. And in fact, the slider widgets are here. The slider dock is still here. You can come to Windows and turn it on if you really, really love your color sliders. But I think that you'll find that having the extra screen real estate is better than having color sliders. Okay, so what is going on here? How do you replace all the functions of sliders with just the cores? So, you've always been able to move them around, and that's your sliders, but you haven't been able to do things like easily set the TDs, and now you can turn these to all to adjust your TDs, and you can adjust any set of TDs you want, and you can also turn them on and show what millimeter height each slider is at. So when you're doing your slicer integrations, so when you're bringing your layer swaps into the slicer, you can see all of your millimeter heights for your sliders, and you can leave those on if you want. I generally don't. So that's the ruler button down here is your millimeters, and the TD button here changes them all to TD. You can still, of course, change them individually to TD by hitting T while hovering over them, but that covers just about everything you need from your sliders. And so you don't really need the sliders to the bottom. Now, if you're just really way more comfortable with the sliders to the bottom, then go ahead. By all means, use the sliders to the bottom. This is the default setting. It's going to come up without them. It will also fit much more nicely on smaller low-res monitors, especially with high scaling or just small screens. You're going to get a lot more usable image space in the middle. Currently, you get these really compressed, tiny little images and predictions that are very hard to use. The other thing I have dealt with is this gap is much smaller in general. It's not perfect. It still can be a little bit variable, but it's going to be about this size or smaller, and it's not going to be like half your screen if you have a lot of layers. So other things that have changed, the filament library is no longer editable from here. You don't need to, almost nobody was changing filament names and things like that here. So you just right click and edit your filament if you want to change your filament. You don't have to do it. You don't do it in the library. Let me make this thinner and narrower so that you can get rid of, if you're just editing your filaments, or you're not editing, you're just using them, you just want smaller amounts of space taken up. You might notice that the filament dialog has some extra things on it. We'll talk about we'll talk about this part later, but in here we have added the ability to do tags. So, and by we, I mean I have added the ability to do tags. So if I wanted to say that one of the things I've found is that these beiges tend to be red blocking. If I wanted to say red blocking, I could add that as a tag. And I could also say, so I could say, you could say like nearly empty if you wanted to track spool status, for instance. You could do that. We could save and close. And then if I wanted to look for blocking, it is now searchable, filterable for that tag. Tags also have some other uses, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the general ability to tag, one of the things that tagging has done is every gray filament has a secret tag that is the other spelling of gray. So if it's spelled Gray, you can still search for Grey, and if it's Gray, it'll still find a Grey. They're all searchable from either one. So here's Polylight Pro Gray Grey, but I'm searching Gray. So okay, other things that have happened in filaments is now in the filaments menu there is a types menu that lets you first merge PLA and PLA Plus into one tab. So this will show all your PLA and PLA Plus together, or if you want to turn it off, it will separate them into separate tabs. And then also you can just turn off tabs that you don't want to see. If you'll notice, I only have 3 tabs: PLA, PETG, and TPU. And that's because I've turned off ABS, ASA, CPE, PC, and PVB. Those have all been turned off. And then you can do the same thing for brands. If you're never going to own JustMaker, you can just uncheck JustMaker. And it'll hide all JustMakers everywhere, except if you own it, and that's checked. So I wanted to have the option like, hey, maybe you own one spool of JustMaker black, but you're never going to own any other spool of JustMaker for whatever reason. Then you can leave that checked, and just that one owned filament will show up, and then you'll be almost done. You'll be, only that one will show up, and the rest of the JustMaker will not show up. All right. We are working, I don't know if you've noticed, there is a HueForge wiki. We have some links here. There will be new links coming up. There's a hotkeys page, troubleshooting page, some other pages in here. One of the pages that just went live is a 8.1 UI page. It breaks down all the UI elements and says what they're for and labels them on an image. We will do the same thing for this, and we're going to try to do some sort of mapping for where they go. Now we will do it based on the default um, version, the default display version of this. And these toolbars are completely movable. I can take these toolbars and move them wherever I want. Um, and so the default version has the toolbar stacked differently than I have them. But I like the top and bottom toolbars quite a bit, and that's how I stack them. Okay. So yeah, and you could say like nearly empty. You know, if you tagged it with nearly empty, then you can search for empty or nearly empty, and it'll bring up that tag. So, all right, let's talk about a few other things that are in here. I did change the luminance. This used to be just called luminance, and now it's called mesh mode. It's how the mesh is built, which mode we're doing. Um, one of the other things I've added now is a rendering system, a lit rendering system, so that you now can see what it will look like with some lighting on it. And you can change the color of the light or the intensity of the light to kind of get adjusted effects. We're finding that between 9.9 and 1 is about right, and the cold white seems to be the most true to life. But you can see that it adjusts based on your color temperature. And one of the other things it adjusts based on is how shiny it is. So you can see that this filament here is shiny. It's a shiny filament, so it's going to show you a little bit of that shine. The way it works is it will automatically pick up a whole bunch of different filament names. Metallic and pearl will be like medium shiny. Matte will be less shiny, will be more matte. And then anything that's silk or starlight, or I think there's one other, elixir, will be picked up as being very shiny. So yeah, this is a front lit. Yes, this is done with front lighting because the backlight version is already in there with backlighting. So it'll pick up that shine automatically. But if a filament does not have a shine, or it does not automatically have, like it doesn't have a name, so like the Polylight Christmas Red, for instance, is a shiny red. But if I add the tag silk, that it's a shiny red, but it doesn't show up as shiny by default. But if I add the tag silk, now it's shiny. Anything with the tag silk or pearl or elixir will show up as the appropriate level of shine. You can renderlit backlit doesn't really, well, it doesn't work with this image, but that's renderlit is pretty much frontlit. Now, one thing it will do is it will reduce the effect, the apparent effect of these edges. Like, you know, this is an issue people have. They make an image and they see the edge of the mesh on the side there. They see it around it and say, why is there white surrounding? And it's there, it's real, but it's a little bit overdone. The renderlit will reduce that impact. It won't go away, they're still there. If you tilt it, you'll still see it, but it's going to reduce how much impact that's going to have on what the final image what you see. I'm not guaranteeing that this is more accurate to life, but for the most part, so far, people have agreed that this is a better, this render does work pretty well. It is a little bit more taxing on your computer, though even some people with pretty low-end computers have said it hasn't really been a problem. Some other information's been moved. I moved the mesh height information here, so that's 2.16 millimeters out of a maximum total of 2.64. It does say how many triangles total. This is a big image because I'm looking at a K2 or an XL print, so it's a 340 millimeter tall print. Another thing you might notice is we now have base thickness and blend depth. So the base thickness kind of replaces min depth, but it does something different. Whereas if I increase the base thickness to like 2, it will look the same. It moved all of my layers. You see, these are now at layer 48. It moved all of my layers up and left them the same blend depth. So the blend depth now floats. The blend depth is basically what min depth or max depth minus min depth was. So the blend depth basically floats on top of the base thickness. So you can have a base thickness of whatever you want as long as it matches up with your layer heights. Go 0.6, and then everything's going to move. Now I'm at layer 13 here. If these sliders are below min depth, they'll stay that layer below, and if they're above, they'll stay in the correct location relative to min depth. Okay. Something you might notice as I'm hovering over here, it will actually flash on the mesh where anything that's at this layer. So you can tell which pixels, which parts of the image are at these layers. And so sometimes you'll see an image where you're like, why can't I see, like I put this white here or something, and you think you're making a difference, but there's nothing actually printing or tiny little bit printing at that layer height. By the way, you do not need to be in renderlit for that. It works in both modes. So like that is her hair here. But you can get a sense for where it is. I think for the initial beta release, and this will be released as a beta, but a much shorter beta than Color Match. Um, for the initial release, I believe that it will only happen on the prediction. It's easier on the prediction. I may be able to push it over to the image as well in the future, but I'm not guaranteeing that. And it works from both sides. And it is optional. You can turn this off if it drives you crazy. Okay, couple other things. Some fun things to do would be people have been playing with glow-in-the-dark filaments. HueForge now supports rendering glow-in-the-dark. Now, we have not had enough testing yet to tell you for certain whether this is going to be 100% accurate, but it should at least give you a good idea of what glow might do to your image. Now, there's a note. There are more modes than just glow. There is another mode that is color shift. So you can do like a color shifting filament that color shifts. You can put those in there. Now, it's only single color shifts right now, but the main issue right now is you can really only use one type of effect at a time because they're sharing their color core. They're sharing the area where they're blending their secondary effect color in the same core right now. I hopefully will change that in the future, but right now it's just single. So you can do glow in the dark, or you can do color shift, or you can do neon. And yes, so if you change the light to UV in renderlit, it will do neon effects if there are any. So if I have something that's neon, anything that has neon in its name, I believe, well, maybe not. It may not be automatic. So I can bring this here, and then it's going to show me that as a neon color. And that's just you change it to UV light and renderlit. In the future, it makes sense for glow and neon to work together, but they're just not right now able to do that. It should be doable. It's just a little bit more than I want to do right now. All right. Couple other things. I have fixed a little bug in CLab. The CLab color matching algorithm had a couple small bugs in it. It should match better, but I've also have two algorithms now. CLab, this is the original one with just some bug fixes. And then CLab 2. So what's the difference? The main difference is that the first one puts more weight on brightness. So it puts more weight on, is this brighter or darker? And the second one is entirely weighted by perceptual color. So if you really want to have like more depth to your image, then you probably want the first one. Or if you just want to work with images you already have that look good, use the first one. But most of the time I've been using CLab 2 because it is more color accurate. You could do multiple glow colors. You can do multiple glow colors or multiple color shifts because they stack properly. But if you can't do a color shift into a glow, really. It sort of works. Yeah, you could do multiple color shifts and it should try to project those pretty well. Again, I'm not guaranteeing that the blending algorithm is perfect for those, but it seems okay. It's at least some parts of it are definitely correct. This will definitely be changed over time as I get more feedback. And you could do multiple glows. You could go from green glow into purple glow into blue glow into orange glow if you wanted, and that should blend correctly. That makes sense. The glows should blend from one to another. And then you could do neons from one color to another, and that should also blend properly. You just can't do glow into neon or color shift into neon. You could sort of do color shift into neon if they're far enough apart in the vertical stack, but if they're too close together, you can't do it. That's a good question. So yeah, I could do if I wanted to put like the orange glow into the green glow, I could do that. That would be fine. Couple other things. Oh, okay. Let's talk slider manipulation. One of the reasons that I like the cores a lot is that they allow us to do things already, like hold down control and mouse wheel up or down and move all of them. Now, this is slower than it would be normally because I'm doing a video as well, but you can control click and move those. Undo is better with this. I've done a lot of fixes for undo as well. It's not perfect still, but that's one of the nice things. One of the things that's been annoying though is if you've disabled a layer because you don't want it to match, and then you move your stack, the disable wasn't moving with it. Now the disable moves properly with your stack. There were also some bugs with loading disables and unloading disables that have been fixed. But the really cool thing going on now is that you can grab and select a set of sliders that if you want, and then you have a whole bunch of things you can do with them. You can copy them, you can cut them, or you can invert them. So I could just invert them. That would make them the other way around in terms of white at the top and black at the bottom. I can Control Z undo that, or Control Y, or I can just hit Control R again, which is the shortcut, or just invert again, which is the shortcut. That works. I can copy this selection, and then I can bring it over here. I can insert paste it or replace paste it. So replace will overwrite any sliders that are in that range. Insert will actually push these sliders up. Now they'll push them to the top and they'll clamp at the top, but it will let you move them around. Another nice thing is you can now, with this lock icon, you can lock them together. And then like say I wanted to say, actually I want to bring this, I can Control X, cut them out, move this up one, and then I can paste insert down here, and now they're down at the bottom if I wanted to rearrange my stack. So this gives you a lot more control over how the sliders are handled and get manipulated. It is undoable as well. Not always in one single step. And then also you can copy, this is copy everything from here to here, and this is copy everything from here to here. So it's super easy to just duplicate one core onto the other core. You might have noticed that there's also an option in here to save core fragment. What does that mean? Save core fragment, these are a new idea, which is instead of having filament sets, we have sets of sliders that we've used for something. Like this would be maybe water. I could say that this is inverted water. It's close. Inverted tropical water. I save it. And then right now it's just a hotkey. It's S. I can then come back here and grab one of these. It'll show me the footprint of where it's going to go. And then I can choose to overwrite, insert, or merge. So overwrite would, if I drop this here, would just get rid of, replace those sliders. And if I did merge, it would interlace them. It would just, all of them would be there. And if I did insert, it would push the other ones out of the way. So I think this is going to be, and then you can have multiple categories here, and you can go through your categories, and you can use your mouse wheel too for the categories. And so you can have multiple categories of these, and you can bring in whatever you want into here and save things that you use frequently. All right. I'm not seeing a lot of comments. Anyone have any questions so far? There's a couple more things I want to show you, and then I will take basic questions first and then dive into some challenge images that I've been given. Time for the awkward little pause as people think of questions. I'm good, Danny. How are you? If any of you need easy to understand videos on HueForge, please check out Neokoi Prince. No, he does great videos, especially aimed at people just starting out or maybe struggling with certain topics that make it really much easier to learn HueForge. I'm a little bit too close to the software, and as such, I have, how do you print an invisible painting? I don't know the answer to that. You can't really, that's outside of the scope of HueForge, really. You could do a Boolean and make the subtracted model on top and make it clear, but then you'd have to get your clear entirely 100% correct. He asks how I paint an invisible painting. Okay, so one more thing, and this is something that I just did the last couple days, which is the Blend Assistant. It has come to my attention that Neokoi Prince Neo Koi prints. They're actually in the help menu. Up here, go to beginner videos, and these are all his videos. But you're looking at, let me see here, at Neo Koi prints on the YouTubes. It's just that's just the channel name there. That's what you want. But the help menu beginner videos, I think, are all his. So I highly recommend it. And he's in here helping moderate today. And he's a moderator on the Discord as well. All right, so CMYK color space is really confusing. Like, for instance, did you know that if you are starting at a purple and you want a gray, like, let's say this gray here, you could get it by blending a green to it, a dark green to it. This beta is not currently released. No, the beta is, but I think soon. I think we're talking a couple weeks. It's a couple weeks, I think, to this beta release. I feel pretty good about that at this point. I have mostly Linux stuff to sort out. And then Mac, actually, oh, that is something I'll just touch on. Mac OS, I have fixed permissions. So you will now be able to save wherever you want. You can save in any folder you want. It will ask you to grant permission for that folder, or the parent folder. If you want to go, you can go back up to the parent folder, and then you will be able to save wherever you want. And it'll maintain those permissions unless you reset them all. You also, let me talk about the Blend Assistant, and then someone remind me to talk about configuration. So this is not blending using the HueForge algorithm. This is just doing evenly spaced blending in CMYK color space, which is what HueForge needs to use. Because filament is pigment, it's subtractive, it needs to use CMYK color space. So this doesn't take into account anything about TD or anything like that. But what it will do is, say you have this purple. Let me just, let's do Control N to make a new image. We will grab this purple here, and then we can grab, cool thing here, I can right click on this and it will show me what greens I have that are similar. So I can grab this opal green, and then you can see that there is like a grayish here, but this is where TD matters. So just because the technical blend can occur doesn't mean that you can actually hit that exact blend once you apply TD into the filament. But in here, this is a bluish gray right here in between the two. If I were to put this King Rune green here, for instance, the blue would move up a little bit. The blue-green-gray would move up a little bit. So these are just trying to help you to think, but it can actually be really useful in a particular image. So let me open another image. So here's one I've been working on. And I was having a lot of trouble getting the right skin tone here. So what I can do is I can say, and you can do it this way. You can click and drag. I just added this, or you can use the color picker icon and just click here, and then color picker here, and I can say, well, I want as close to the skin tone as I can get from there. That is not a correct blend. Let me try that again. Let's just try this color here. There we go. And then I could say, oh, well, what color is this? Well, that's a lot like Prusament Orange. So I have Prusament Orange. Let's try dropping Prusament Orange in here. You can grab it from right there and drop it in here. And look, that actually is pretty good. So it helps you get at colors that you're trying to hit. It can help with that. I don't know. There's still some bugs in it. It's brand new. But it's here to help you try to figure out how to get from one color to another. It is using the C-Lab Delta E to do your math, and then it'll show you if you have enough owned filaments within the range. And I think 8 to 15 might be a better range here. It will show them to you, and then it'll up to 10 filaments, and it'll show you however many are left in your unowned filaments. And then I just added that you could drag an actual filament into here and say, oh, what if I'm starting at Bambu Lab Basic Beige instead here? Then it could say, okay, well, that's how you would do it. That's how you get from there to there. So that is brand new, and then you can choose which filament type you want. This does not currently respect that you may have merged PLA and PLA+. That's not, And then you can, that's not in there yet. I don't know if that'll be in there before the beta. And then you can change how many steps it's calculating against. I will need to look at why some of that, like why that worked, but it didn't work before. I don't know why. So, got to figure that out. But in any case, that is... So what you're doing is you're setting your starting color and then your desired color. And it'll also give you intermediate colors coming up to it, right? So sometimes you may want to say, well, I know I'm going to start at black and I want to get to orange, but I want to blend smoothly. What colors could I use in between? So you can do that too. So I could grab this black here, and then it would say, well, maybe you want this brown and this brown. What's this like? This is like the matte brown. It's a lot like the matte dark brown. So you could put that matte dark brown in there to give yourself a nice blending step and a smooth blend. Hidden brands. It will show hidden brands currently. That is probably something that I will take care of so that it won't show hidden brands, or at least I will. Hey, Pezlis, welcome. It will currently show hidden blends or hidden brands. Yeah, well, but unowned is not the same as hidden. So because you can come in here and you can say, I want to not show these brands, like certain brands here. I don't want to show any Sunlu Meta or Matte, or I don't want to show any... Oh, I think I have Sunlu Meta off for testing. I actually own a couple. I don't want any Hatchbox or like JO. Like I don't want any of those. Then it will still show those right now. It doesn't respect that. That's something I should make it respect. So yeah, and it'll only show unowned if you don't have, like I have 8 of these that match within range, but again, I would argue that probably the Chrominal Shadow Gray is the last one that really matches within range, and then I should have 5 of these here. And this type shouldn't show any hidden types either, but it does. So that is... Oh, and one last thing, I don't have a good image for it, but pixel scaling, if you have a pixel image, a Mario, a low-res pixel art image, use pixel scaling. It's just flat scaling, so it's all nearest neighbor. It'll keep it from blending weird edges on it. So, and when color match especially, that can make some spikes and weird things. So pixel scaling is in there for that. Let's see. A few other things have been renamed. Okay, but let's talk briefly about configuration. Now on both Windows and Mac, you can say Manage Configuration. It's the same screen that was in there before for import existing configuration, but you can now say that you want to find or move a config/use config. So the default was it moved all configs and Windows to app data roaming HueForge, which I still contend was a step up from you having to copy some files over from your folders and not being clear what that was. So you can just keep dropping HueForge right on top of your old folder now as updates. It's still not an installer, though. I'm not a million years away from that. It's not coming out with the beta. This will now let you say, I want to move it, I want to keep it, or I want to move it to a new location, or I want to use an existing configuration from another location. So this is really important. So you have one computer you've been using HueForge on, and then you install it on your laptop, or you have a Mac and you have a Windows PC, or you have whatever. You have your work laptop and your home laptop, and you have a OneDrive, or you have a Dropbox or something that you can put these files into and access from all your computers. You can now use that. You can say, okay, I'm going to use that config over there. And that's actually what I do. My Mac uses the same config as my PC. So when you add filament on one, you get filament on the other. When you add, you will have to restart HueForge to see it. It won't live update, but it will let you to do that. And you can move it. So the first thing you do, if you're like, I don't want it in app data, that's where it is. You can move it to that folder, and then on another computer, you can say, okay, now let me use the one at that folder. So this should let you know where your configuration is a lot more easily and have it be more accessible. All right. Borders. Borders got some love too. There was a bug in color match borders. They would look fine in the screen here, and they would be fine. And then when you actually went to the slicer, you would get a little kind of offset copy of the image here, and it was like the image was taken and then shifted up, which it absolutely was. And so I fixed that, but I also fixed borders in general. Okay, borders have always been an issue because if the image is not, you might notice here, this image is not square, but the borders are the same width, and that's because I had to change the height. If you look here, the height of this image was 340, but the height in parentheses here is 336. And that's because in order to make the borders the same width and not clip the image, whichever one the longest side is has to shrink. It has to get smaller. Unless you make it external borders. And you say the image stays exactly the same size, but now instead of being 340 millimeters tall, now it's 348 millimeters tall, and the borders are on the outside. So if you really wanted to hit 340 millimeters, you would like as your total, you'd set this to 332, and now you control which axis gets scaled. In this case, now the Y or the thinner axis has to be shrunk in a little bit to fit, but at least you get to pick which one it is. So external borders or regular borders will now be always square, but it will resize your image a little bit when you do that. External borders won't resize it. You just may choose to resize it because you're like, well, I can't really make 348 work. That's going to be way too close to the edge. It's not going to print, so I need to shrink it down to fit. But I want the major height to be 340, and then you set it. All right. There's other things about moving and stuff like this. The icon has moved to here unless you're in regular mode. There's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't want to cover all of it. Less math, hooray. Yes. So anyhow, I don't use borders that much, but at least I fixed the bug, and now they're easier, and they're fewer triangles than before. One thing I do need to fix before release that is not here right now. Hold on, okay. One thing I do need to fix before release is that the optional palette here, doesn't work right now, which is where it would put the colors. Every layer's color would be on the side here. Let's see. And in preferences, I believe you can tell it. Nope. I do plan on putting in here the option to not have it show you what layers. I thought that was in here somewhere. To not show you, not to flash the layers, but I will put that in here. That will be an option. Okay. Any questions before I start grabbing some? Oh, yeah, so config. I talked about config. You can move your config. So your config can go wherever you want it to go. You have full control over where your config goes. And then you can share configs between installations on different computers if you have a cloud folder. I'm not providing that cloud folder. It's not some HueForge service, but you can apply a cloud folder and use it to share your configs. Okay, so let's get started with oh, by the way, you can actually, this resets all your sliders as well. You can do that too. That was weird. Okay, so the little bug there. All right, let's pull in some images. I have them in downloads. We're going to start with the one that I think is going to be the easiest, but may not be. All right. That's something I have to tweak too. All right, so we have this AT-AT, and the request was specifically, hey Traxman, welcome. The request was specifically to use just 3 colors, black, blue, and white, but wanted to separate the blue from the gray and the black. So there's 2 ways. So we're ignoring this orange part here, which I think is a good plan. I think that's okay. It's kind of minor. So we're in color match, which is I think where most people are going to be most of the time. I think you could do this in color aware or color pop, but you might have some issues with the background clouds not really separating correctly. Like they would still be considered white. So, but let's try it. Let's try that first. So we'll come here to color mode or mesh mode again. Color pop. Color pop slider has moved to the middle here. And if you're in standard, it will match very, very well. And you're set to full height. It'll match very, very well with the location here. Okay. So for ColourPop for this, I think I would invert it because I want the sky in the background. So I would click the invert over here. And then we got to up our tolerance because we're in ColourPop, so we need to actually grab some stuff. That actually looks like it's working pretty well. Almost everything in the background is bright white, which tells us in the bottom. And then that means that the clouds and everything are mostly white. There's a couple of spots here, but that's pretty good. So we'll go with that. So we're going to bring our black up above the middle, our white there. The black's going to need a white above it. Obviously, the higher TD the white, the more details you're going to be able to have. The more unique shades you're going to be able to have, but we can just kind of work our shades in here. And then we can grab a blue. It doesn't really matter what your blue is. It just, you want it to be something like the sky. Well, yeah, let's try this azure blue here. Let me bring that up. So we have some issues here. This is still not being taken as grayscale, so we want to grab a little bit more as grayscale, I think. So yeah, this is what I was talking about. I was a little concerned about that. See, all the clouds become, the clouds are all becoming white, or part of the background when we bring the tolerance up too much. So I think, this is how you would separate them. You could do some image editing here to clear it up. You could color shift a lot of this stuff, like a lot of the whitest snow and things like that. You could just color shift everything but the walker into pure black or pure color. Like should added some blue to it. But I think probably we're gonna do better with color match. But this is how you would separate it pretty easily. Let's go to color match. All right. Well, we gotta switch things over. So here we can just copy this whole set over. Now in color match, anytime we have saturation marks, that's kind of wasted space. The only exception is for black. We probably want to disable a layer or two of black. Let's talk about that for a minute. Why do I want to disable a layer or two of black? And the reason is, and what does disabled layers do? So in color match, a disabled layer is a layer that cannot be a top layer. It cannot be the one that the user sees, or the printer, the artist sees when they're done printing. It will always be covered by other layers. And why do we do that? Well, if I highlight this black here, right, it's showing me on the mesh core and the color core what layer it's going to be, and you can see it's at layer 30. But if I turn off this disable, it's going to be down at layer 28. And the problem with that is that at 0.4 or even 0.8 layers to some extent, your layers, even if your TD is in fact very low, your layers often don't fully cover the underlying print. They just don't print 100% full. You need a couple layers to get that, 2 to 3 layers to get that really solid. So we just we'll set that up as being 2 disabled layers, and now that black is going to be solid black. You won't be able to see anything. How did I move the whole mesh core down? You mean with the control mouse wheel? Yep, control mouse wheel moves the whole mesh core. It's just control mouse wheel, alt. So the lesser used is alt mouse wheel will move everything below the slider up and down. Control mouse wheel will move everything above that slider and above up and down. And as I've said before, you now have the ability to move your disables with it. So the disables will not be dragged with the slider above it, but the slider below will push them up. Now we have some issues here where there is some blue here. If we look at this color, it is kind of bluish. Now we can try to drop this color in here to the mesh core. And get a little bit better coverage on the gray, but it kind of makes our background a mess. This is kind of a tough image because things are so close in color space. Also, I think looks like it's pretty, like this should not be, put a darker gray in there. We must be hitting JPEGification here, I think. Oh, that's the clouds. These clouds are kind of tricky, yeah. Okay, that's looking better. There's still a few spots here that are a little bit of a problem. We can keep dragging more grays into here, but see, that took a whole bunch of our blue areas to blue, but that cleans up a lot of it. So there are some issues here because blue and gray are, very similar. Now, one thing I would probably do here is I'd probably flip these over and do the sky this way. And the only reason I'm doing that is because, oh, that needs to go up one. Is because then we'll just have a nice continuous blend from the back to the front without as many ledges. But you see there are still some ledges here. We might actually be able to bring this white down at the top. Yeah, that helps. We bring this white down at the top, and then more of this stuff comes down to the bottom. We still have some of these offset colors down here. Where maybe we want to put these into the stack here. All right. I use... Yeah, it's always the JPEG's fault. It is always the JPEG's fault. Let's try. Let's prove it, shall we? All right. Downloads. I use Topaz AI as an upscaler. It says it's a PNG, but I don't know. We'll bring Topaz up. And we'll just do apply recommendations. There we go. Got a lot of that low-res artifacting to go. We'll export it. Okay. Then we'll bring in a new image. Maybe it wasn't the JPEG. Maybe I can't blame the JPEG for all of my woes. Yeah, it's just hard because they're so close in color space. Spike removal is useful in color match. I have fast or moderate on almost all the time in color match. They're very useful, but they don't solve every problem. They will muddy your details a little bit and things like that. I am in C-Lab. Let's try the C-Lab 2. A little bit more color. There you go. That's a little bit better. A little bit more color accurate, as I said. So C-Lab 2 does help a little bit with that. So that's another thing you can try. You can also try using like a different mode, .product or default. But C-Lab 2 looks like it actually might be the winner here. This is pretty blue still, so kind of up to us whether we want to try to bring this up here. There we go. And it's just these clouds. They're the only issue. No more chat? What do you mean no more chat? Chat is still here. I'm still looking at it, and yeah, I'll be if I'm ignoring chat, Danny or Adam will ping me so that I don't. But there should still be chat. Is there some problem with chat that I'm missing? Oh, that got bad. What happened? Oh, okay. That did not work up there very well. Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's tricky because gray and blue are so similar. All right. Okay. Yeah, you just have to be subbed to chat. You need to be subbed for 5 minutes in order to chat. That is the one rule. Okay, so this is how I would deal with this. This might be one where you come in and do a little bit of selective recoloring in an image editor to try to either shift everything to blue. I mean, I could try that. I could try blue shifting things, but since the AT is already so close to blue, I don't think that's going to do what we want very well. So I really think that this is probably one where you're going to need to do a little bit of editing on the image. to get those separations. But you can get pretty close. It's one of those that's frustratingly close. You can get really, really close to correct. Okay. And then let's look at the next image. I think that's enough for that one. We've talked about why it's difficult. All right. Let's pull... This one was an older one that was done well before HueForge had color match, I believe. And so they were looking for how I would go about it with color match and the new features. Okay, so whenever I'm doing color match, the major things I'm looking at are what I call color continuums and color families. A color continuum is a smooth set of color blends that kind of move nicely one to another and through each other. The issue here is that there isn't really a foreground background so much because it's kind of stained glass, so everything's in the same plane. So it's a little bit harder to work out where that's going to be. But I will say, because of that kind of mid-plane everything, I really would like the black to be closer to the middle than to the bottom, or middle or top than the bottom, so that it's clear. Because if you have too many layers stacked on either side of your black, it becomes, because it's deeper, it becomes harder and harder to see. So I'd like to move the black up. So I'm going to just go ahead and bring my black up about halfway. And then what is, if I bring the black up halfway, what can I support effectively? So a relatively straightforward thing to support would be red to yellow, maybe a little white, and then to green, back to yellow, back to green as a blend. So come from this dark red up through the yellow, and then keep going up to the green here. And then that would put black in the middle, and then blue and white on top to give us our sky. So let's grab a blue like this. Let's use a short 1 or 2 layer blue. We need some sort of tealy thing in here. We'll grab that. I'm going to hit T and increase its TD. It looks like it does have a little bit of green in it, and that's going to be a little bit of an issue. So maybe we pivot slightly and we blend the green right on top of the blue. Maybe we're going to do that. Well, let's see where we get with everything else first. Let's switch to C-Lab 2. And then let's go ahead and grab a dark red. When it's a dark shade, that's a really dark red, and I'm concerned about how it's going to compare against a black. So I'd almost like to blend up into that red. For fire colors, I don't normally use colors from the image because it's generally pretty straightforward how to do fire colors, but sometimes it does help. For really dark shades, it's going to be hard to find an exact match. All right, so we have our colors there. We need a white. We need more yellow. Maybe we want to use our Jessie Bird yellow, which is a 4T non-matte yellow. Will get us our saturation a little bit faster. So we can have a little bit higher in the white. And then we'll bring the yellow back down here. And we'll put a green. Let's just use the Prusa Opal green, which we used before. There we go. Does seem to be an issue where sometimes I drop onto here and it shows the drop, but it doesn't actually adjust the mesh core. So I'll take a look at that, be looking into that. Okay. Ideally, we get this beak show up. Let's bring this white down. I would like to get this beak to be all coherent. Well, that's a 1T. So we want a low TD white here is what we're looking at here. We want a really low TD white. And here's where a moderate spike removal should get rid of most of those little spikes. Yep. And then we're not too far off where we want to be at this point. A lot of this is kind of choices and what you value more. We could put a darker green down here, but I will say there aren't that many really dark green filaments. So you're going to end up pretty much just using this color green anyway. And the blues are hitting pretty good. The only thing we're kind of missing is this seafoam green kind of color. And we could probably actually put that above here. I saw some TE there. put that above. And maybe we can get some of this other seafoamy green here. There we go. I'm pretty happy with this. I would probably, a lot of projects I will save, and then I will come back later and check them out again and decide if I like them that way or not. Sometimes I end up liking them that way, sometimes I don't. Now I use not all real colors here, so let's go ahead and do the mesh core. Now I will say that for the mesh core, I'm generally aiming for 8 colors or less. Again, I'm not saying I'm totally 100% happy with this, but I think for what we're working on and for what we've been, doing this in office hours is pretty good. There is an issue here. We have no gray. I think we need a little bit of gray over the black. There we go. To get that beak in there. Yeah. Okay. And then we need a little bit of, now here we may need to do this. This is like a jungle green or army green. We may need a layer of that down here. Okay. So let's go ahead and grab this over. So we'll go ahead. The black we're just gonna put in the middle where it was. The green. Now I could just copy it all over, but there's a whole bunch of extra sliders in here. Let's just go ahead and do it though. We'll copy it over. It just replaces everything here. Had a little bit of issue there. We'll just take that olive green out. Take that out. Maybe we can bring it to a higher TD white now. Less of a low TD white. Heard a beep. Oops. Move that over. Okay. Just a 30-minute warning. Yeah, olive green is close. Okay, and then this red we don't have exactly. I mean, that would be like an iron red kind of thing, though the iron red is not this dark. We'll put that in there. We're going to get rid of some of these colors anyway. I think we'll just put a white here. Give ourselves a little bit of gray. We're going to pull this teal out. Oh, let's see. And then we've got these greens. So what's this green? This Kexel bluish green or the bamboo matte grass green are good options here, I think. Yeah. All right, and that's not a real white. That's a pet G white, so we'll try Kexel here. There we go. So, but I think we're going to find this is a lot of colors. Let's see. This is 9 filaments. Okay. So here's where we're at. We have 9 filaments here. How do we reduce? How do we get down a filament? How do we get 1 filament less? Because ideally we don't have 9. I think actually here, yeah, that's just a different white. So there we go. Easy solution. We now have 8 filaments. There you go. 8 unique filaments. Blending this up. I think some work could be done on the red to give it a little bit more contrast. We got an issue here where this is not getting quite white enough. So maybe we'd be better off with a lower TD red here, or lower TD white here, all the way like the King Rune white, which is a 4. That brightens the whole thing up. Maybe we go there. Or maybe you're okay with 9 colors, or we do something else. Like maybe you do use 2 different whites, so we can get that nice and white there. Yes. Okay. So good question, Mirza Ali. This is the development version. The first half of this was spent going over what's changed and what's new. This is the current development version. I would expect a beta in about 2 weeks. I would expect the beta to run for 2 to 4 weeks. It's not going to be a 3-month beta like Color Match was. I would expect the beta to run for 2 to 4 weeks. One of the big things we're going to be doing in the beta is actually figuring out just some dialogue things and stuff that I don't want to go spend forever chasing down right now, but that are in there and are issues. So actually, this green could be reused here, I think. Yeah, I like that. Reusing colors in the core is great. Like you can reuse colors all over the place, and it can really, really help. I might bring in a lower TD red here, like the lipstick red, get more saturation. Yeah, I like that better there, and I can get a little bit more shadowing there. You didn't miss it all. You missed what? It's recorded. You will be able to watch it again. Eggshell colors around the eyes. Yeah, so the eggshell colors around the eyes are definitely an issue, right? Like this is not. This is too orange. I agree. But it comes down to like what's the most important parts to you, and if that's a really important part to you, that's fine. For me, I just decided that that was not my primary focus. But yeah, what you'd want to do there is you would need to grab. You could actually just bring this up and make everything a little bit lighter. I don't know why this is so green. Oh, because we don't have enough yellow here. There. Or again, you could put in a much lower white. I think the cold white. What did I just do? Cold white here. I could drop that down here, and then we'd be able to get. So we would need to grab like the color we want, set it here, and then on the mesh core we could. Oh, I'm still looking at the wrong one. That's why. There, now I can brighten it up because I'm not changing where it is, and I've got my white moving up. I think the Kexel white might work here as long as we have that set. You have some control over that. So that's probably how I'd go about that, but it's not easy to get that 100% fixed. That was something I kind of just said I could spend forever on that, or I could just print it as is and be pretty happy with it. But it's a good question. This is actually something where, this might be something where you say, well, let me use the color blending tool. Let me select a color, say I'm at this color here, and I want to be at this color here. How do I do it? And it's going to tell you, basically, you just need white, which is what we have. It's just a matter of, matter of where the white goes. All right. This was hard just because everything's all kind of in the same layer in the image. And there's not that much layering that we can stack on very easily. Also, I will admit, like, it's kind of dark. The greens are all in the really dark range. This might be a reason to put a dark green at the bottom just to get your more blending range on the greens. Oops, gotta move this up one now. So more of the greens show up. Not really showing up any differently. I need more, but these greens here are very dark, and they're not really. There we go. We can make them show up a little bit better by adding. They're not going to be distinct colors, unless you want to brighten them up. But we can at least make them show up better by grabbing them and putting them on the mesh core. Yeah. Some of this stuff is a little bit of editing would go a long way. Okay, so let me come a new image. These are some, let me go with the very first one that someone sent me. Nope, not that one. I can do that one. It's all right. The very first person should be rewarded for being the first person. This one. Now, I will say HueForge will capture this texture, the canvas texture, but at the same time, the canvas texture is going to make it a little bit harder to print, and it'll actually increase your print time noticeably to have this canvas texture. Just saying it how it is. Okay, this one's a little bit more straightforward. We have our background scene here, the night sky, and then we have our foreground scene here. Now, they do share a black, so again, this is one where you would probably want to try to mix the black into the middle. I do a lot of this where I'll put your blue on the back, maybe 2 shades and a white. So I'll grab my white. I do like the polysonic white, but I don't think it's super necessary here. We'll grab a white, and then we'll grab a blue. I think we can't use like a really low TD blue. It has to have at least a little bit of blending to it. Like this 0.8 is just going to turn blue too fast, I think. Maybe, and then maybe we would want like the fighter jet blue to finish out the sky. Yeah, it's not too bad actually. And then looks like these aren't actually black, so we're gonna put a little bit of really dark blue here. There we go. So now we have the buildings nicely firmed in. Bring this down. And now we're going to come up the other side with this greenish black. And then this, I think we can almost just grab a standard green. Again, I'm doing this with greens because, like, with the colors I have, just because I don't think it's super tricky. And then I think we want a little bit of yellow here to mix that green in with. So like here's a good, let's do this. Let's grab this and put it here. This is our start color. And then we say we want to get to like this green color here. What would we use? Yeah. So it's basically saying a yellow. Polylight yellow V2. That's a really high TD. It's going to take a long time to get there. But it will get there. And then we probably want... That maybe is a little bit too... maybe this needs to be a blue or green. Pull the opal in here, a little darker. And grab some of this darker green here to shade in. I think this yellow is not yellow enough. I think we either need a bright green or we need a yellow with a little bit higher TD, or lower TD, sorry. Get that shade. All right, and we can just grab this white so we match exactly. Oh, the middle of the bulb doesn't want to match. Oh, I have white at the bottom. Oh, right, for the blue. We can put a little light blue here so that matches. There we go. All right, so there we go. Okay. This layout is beta only. Right, the toolbars. The toolbars are only available in the beta. You will not be able to make the docks look like this. That's part of the reason that this is here. So I think it's a little tricky though because these green colors are not quite. That's better. To get this shade exactly is very tricky because it's a very specific, almost like minty blue, but then it goes to this bright green here. There we go. That's better. So now most of these are real colors, so we just copy this over. We can get rid of this and get rid of this. Get rid of that. We bring the white up. And then the greens are the hard part here. We may want to find a green that's like this. If you really want these shades, I think you're again looking at like the Kexeld Cyan or something like that. And then this is probably like a lime green. Oh, Kexeld Fluorescent. That's too green. Not yellow enough. I think we'll find here that there's a Polyterra lime. Or the just regular regular lime green, Polylight lime green. Yeah, that's pretty good. You could, I mean, yes, you can blend blues. So I could potentially put this here. And yeah, it's basically saying if I did that, so if I wanted to save that and come here and put the blue here, the problem is TD, right? The blue TD, it's the TDs versus, so I would need to use a really high TD yellow, which I do have. But like you're just not going to be able to get all the distinct individual shades that you want. But yes, you can get green that way. Or in fact, yellow on black is a type of green. That would be possible. But it is going to be a lot easier to get especially if you're trying to hit these specific greens. HueForge properly blends these colors. Now, I will say that we didn't really. Let's see here. We want to do this, and like try this here and this here to get a better, match. HueForge is going to properly simulate the color blending. I mean, that's what it does. It's just going to be hard to make if you're going to do it that way, you probably wouldn't color match it, I guess is what I'd say. We could try a different yellow. But so the more yellow it is, the faster it's going to turn yellow and overcome the blue. And it depends on the shade of yellow. This is going to really matter what your yellow is. But yes, you can get, yellow and blue do make green. And that does work. Again, this simulation up here is not dealing with TD. So you'll need to bring that intuition in, but it will work. All right. All right. I have time for probably one or two more. Let's do another one. All right, let's do a photo. There's a tricky one here that I'll finish on. Let's do a photo. Photos can be very difficult. Colors don't separate as nicely often in photos, and it can be very, very tricky to figure out how to make a photo work. This photo looks like it's in pretty decent quality. Yeah, the photo quality is pretty good. That looks like some JPEGification though, so we may have some issues there. That looks like that blurriness is not from HueForge. So, well, let me check this. Yeah, see, show image at print size is not set. But it doesn't look too bad right here. So we'll go with it here. If I need to, I'll do an upsample and see how that goes. All right, so I think pretty clearly the dog's in the foreground. If you have a green with a higher TD, a 4 or an 8, I would definitely consider blending up to the green. If you don't, I think in this case would be okay with going green. You don't need to go to a full white. And then having the dog in front on top. I think that's in this image. He's very much in front on top, so it's not that awful or not a bad thing to have him do that. So let's just start that way. I will say though that the black of his nose and the dark of the grass are going to conflict. So that might be a little bit of an issue. But if you move this one down one, and then we grab a green, use the chrominal serpent green, for instance, then it won't be able to match that black. It'll match this layer, so you probably would need a different green down here to get off of the blue right away, or off of the black right away. And then we put a yellow. This is one of those cases where trying to match all the different shades of the grass is going to be extremely hard. So I'm not even trying. I'm just accepting that they're not all going to match. But I'm going to use color blending that I know basically works. Okay, so now we need a black for the nose. We'll grab the actual nose black so that it matches. Okay, see, now you see how he kind of snapped into focus, and we actually ended up getting a blend. This is not accurate. This is too high of a TD, so let's drop this TD down to a realistic black TD. There you go. Okay, we'll deal with the trees in a little bit. We have now very nicely separated the dog from the rest of the image. This actually is kind of a cool, like almost desaturated the dog here. So now we can grab some colors from the dog. I think that looks like a brown. Yeah, pastel terracotta. And then we probably want a yellow is my guess, to get that kind of shade to him. There, yeah. There are some other colors here we could look at. The nose is kind of a reddish hue. But honestly, this isn't too bad. This little bit in the back is a little annoying. This I'd probably like to grab and pull down here if I can without grabbing his nose. I've mostly not grabbed his nose. I did get a little bit of his nose here. I might say because those are background, and especially if you look at it like render lit, it's not going to be as noticeable in the background, but it does look like there's some issues around the face that we need to work out. So we've got a couple of little deviation divots here. Yeah, there. That we want to grab probably and bring up that way. And then if we can, we'd like to get a better overall blend on the dog. So let's get some more. Where did we go green there? Oh, maybe these need to be right above the gray. Yeah, these are around the muzzle. And then maybe we actually need a white around the muzzle here. And our browns. Maybe we'll grab this shade here instead. Get a better match. And this kind of shade in the middle here. It's not too bad. I will say, though, there is the negative that bringing the grays around the muzzle here has led us to have this shared, or this black where the eyes have rings around them and stuff. But I think we got the colors pretty good here. So then I don't think we're going to be able to get this. This is not going to be green enough. Maybe it is. Hey, we can bring that back to the grass. That works. Okay. We have some issues around the trees here, so... Alright, let's just move these over. Okay, we can just use black here. And white here. Then we need a dark brown. We could try chrominal, but it's on top of a white, so it needs to be an actual solid dark brown. So maybe like polylite brown or the Kexel chocolate brown are good options here. The terracotta is already there. And then I think we just want maybe a beige here. I don't like beiges that often. They're often very pale. That one is very pale. King Rune skin, maybe. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Since it's not on top of a red, it should be okay. But we could also maybe put a yellow in there. There we go. That looks like some pretty good pet fur to me. So I might do something about the background here. I might edit that. Just turn that all a little bit green so it stays in the bottom. But actually, we even got the dirt around here. It looks pretty dirty. I'm pretty happy with that. This video will be available after Deku Gaming. It will be recorded. All right. So I think minus some issues in the background here around effectively here. I think this is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. The dog fur in particular looks great. Now this is more colors. It's 8. It fits us within our 8 colors. So that is fortunate. All right, so we got one more image. This one is going to be fun. All right, interesting. Or actually, that's not too far off, but let's go ahead. If you hit this, it will reset all of the colors on both sliders. This will clear all disabled. So if you've like disabled a bunch of layers and then you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, this will just remove those. Oh, sorry, that's colors. This will remove that. That will reset everything and get rid of disables. This here will clear disables. Yeah. Okay. He also was interested in doing this as a neon, and as I said, well, you now have neon prediction. Neon prediction is in. It will work to some extent, though I've only set up one neon color. I could set up more neon colors for this. I haven't tried more than one color, but it should work. So here, I think we have to pick what our subject is. Foreground, background. I think pretty clearly the clownfish are our foreground subject. And we probably want to anchor our black to the foreground subject. Notice how by doing that, it actually brings them forward a little bit. Okay, so we'll start. So darker colors, darker shades can be very hard to match with filaments. So we'll go ahead and just grab color shades here. We'll give ourselves some TD that's about normal. And then we need some yellow. I don't even know if we do need white for the stripe. Yellow TD is probably at least a 4. Now, the interesting thing here, though, is that this white stripe around him isn't white, right? It's not actually white. It's actually like bluish. So, think we need to add ourselves a little bit. And we might need some more room. So we can just change the blend depth to 3. And now we have more room. All right. So that's kind of gotten us our white, but it does mix in with this anemone a bit. But now we need to do our greens. And we have that neon green. Let's use that neon green down here. We're definitely going to need a white below it. Blend into it. And then this is an interesting color here. Okay. I think we just want a darker green, right? There, I like that better. I have a 6TD bluish color. Now again, as I said, this is neon, so if we're render lit and I go to UV, is that it? Fluorescent. Where's my fluorescence? It is fluorescent. Oh, do I need more? Do I have to have glow lit on? No. This orange looks like it's actually fluorescing, but the green is not. I don't know why. I can see. Don't know why. It should be. Oh, it may not. It may not work. Here, hold on. It may not actually work on the mesh core. There you go. Yeah, it's fluorescing on the color core now. So there is some neon there, and we could, if you had other neon shades like the orange and stuff, again, we could make that work. So this is not awful. There's definitely some issues like this here. This color here is part of the anemone, and I think we want that more in the background. But then it's going to start grabbing some of his, this is grabbing these shades down here. So we kind of have to start making choices about where we want particular things to be. Like we could move all the blues. We could move the blues down to the bottom as a. And put the bands down there, and then it would blend more consistently into the middle. Then bring this white down. But we just have these little spikes here that we would need to deal with, but this gets you a lot of the way there. And then even though I didn't use real colors here, because I used real TDs, I'm able to then work with them. Like this Prussian orange, I can replace in there. And then this was a 4TD. So that's the yellow bird. Which actually even blends more nicely. Fluorescence correct. These two are not correct. We would probably need something down there. Maybe the deep sea blue and let it be a little darker. Or if we wanted to bring in like the azure blue, that's probably more in style with everything else. So now we're really just looking at these colors here that need to be adjusted. And this is one of those situations where either moderate might work, or we might take a careful look at this and say, what is the deal? Okay, it's blending up to this color here. And we do need that color, I think. Let's see, do we need that color? Yeah, we need it at least that much. Wait, do we even need that white at all? I don't know that we needed that white at all. The yellow seems to work okay by itself. I could see like wanting a little bit of this white, or that yellow there, some shading. That gets rid of most of it there. So, That's pretty good. And then we're just literally looking at these last little specks. And this may be an issue where we say, you know, let's make it more green. Let's color shift it towards green and see if that helps. Not helping that much. All right, so then let's color shift it away from red. There you go. And those little spots pretty much disappear. There we go. I'm pretty happy with that. Given how difficult this source for image really is, I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I might like is a darker green in here, if I could, or maybe if I match with this green better, that'll look a little bit better. Yeah, without even changing the green, I just get a little bit more shading here because I went darker. So more match to the image. And yeah, the azure blue looks really good here. So there you go. That is the challenge images I have for tonight. I have one more image, but I think we're basically out of time here. I'm going to wrap up office hours here. And then for anyone who wants to come hang out on the Discord, I'm not gonna hold court like this, but we can all hang out. I'll talk. I'll answer questions still. If you're not a member of the Discord, but you do own HueForge, you have the rights to it. There should be a link at the bottom of your downloads page. If not, you can hit me up in the store chat, and I can hook you up with a link. And I will be doing another office hours on YouTube for the EU hours. I don't know if it'll be next week or in 3 weeks. I haven't decided that yet. It might just be next week. What does that look like glow in the dark? Well, it isn't glow in the dark, but I could put glow in the dark here. So I have a glow in the dark green. You can actually search for glow. I keep forgetting I can do that. So I could make that. Let's boost this. Let's put this over here and bring it up so we have more room for the glow effect. And then we can glow light it. There isn't that much glow in here. And see, here you can see the issue that it stops the glow immediately and shifts to the neon, which is not exactly what you want. It can be a little tricky here to figure out how to do some of these effects. There we go. Now, so here we go. If you've got a little bit more glow to it, you can see. But all right. Yep, absolutely. And all right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you all for coming. Hopefully this was informative and helpful. I do plan, I think, on doing these again, but I haven't finalized any plans on that in terms of timing or anything like that. So just be aware that it's probably going to happen again, probably 4 weeks from now. But my goal is not necessarily to always do it exactly on the same date, but it is to try to do 1 out of 2 of these office hours on Discord, or on YouTube, and 1 of them on Discord. That's basically the plan. So, all right, I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for coming by, and feel free to come join us on Discord.